So tell me about yourself and how you got into like the tea business or tea realm.
So I am actually a pharmacist by profession. I did my doctor of pharmacy in Kansas City, graduated about 24 years ago. And but I actually come from a family of tea farmers. I was born and raised in Kenya, and my parents are tea farmers. My great-grandparents were introduced to tea by the missionaries who came into Kenya, during the colonial period. And we started growing tea because we're right on the highlands. We're right on the Aberdare Mountains.
Right.
And they brought the tea plants from India, and they introduced them to Kenya.
Oh, okay.
And since my family was from the mountainous region of the Aberdare Mountains, we started growing tea, and it's been now what I consider myself a fourth generation tea grower in Kenya.
So is that like how you kind of got into your business aspect of?
Yes. So really what made me start Leafberri was I couldn't find Kenyan tea here. Teas are very unique because how they're grown, the soils, the environment will contribute to the flavor profile.
It's the same thing with like wine and things like that.
So, I'd go to the stores. I remember when I first arrived here in the United States, and someone, I think, took me to, McDonald's, or I can't remember where I was taken. And I asked for tea, and they gave me iced tea.
Right.
I had never known people can drink tea cold. And when I tasted it, I could not believe how bad it tasted. I felt like I was drinking dirt, cold dirt. And so, I was just shocked because I was so used to tea with a particular unique flavor.
Right.
And so after many years of every time I'd go home, I'd come home with a lot of tea just to sustain me for the period I would be not home. That's when I decided, why not bring Kenyan tea to the United States?
Mm-hmm.
We are the third largest producer of tea in the world, the largest exporter of black tea. And I couldn't understand why we could not find I couldn't find Kenyan tea like the way you'd find teas like teas from India or teas from China. But you couldn't find it and considering we produce so much tea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started, I'm going to bring tea to the United States. And that's what started me with Leafberries.
So, like, when you talking about like your history and your past, like what would you describe your relationship to tea itself?
So tea is very interesting because tea is actually one of the major economic boosters in Kenya. It's in terms of the cash crops and how it supports the economy, it's top three. Mm-hmm. Being that we produce so much tea, and people like my family, tea is our sustenance. That's how we've survived. That's how our communities have thrived. That's how we've been able to go to school. That's how we've just been able to, the economy to thrive is through a lot of exportation of tea.
Right.
So tea plays a very big role in terms of from the economic perspective. Now, when it comes to things like culture and history, we drink tea all the time. It doesn't matter whether it's cold or hot, you always have hot tea. And in Kenya, we call it chai, and chai is just tea.
Right.
Now, here in the United States, when you say chai, people expect spices,
okay.
right? But anytime you go to Kenya, our tea is milk and water. And that was something that was adopted when the teas were brought in from India, because that's the culture in India. They drink a lot of tea with milk. So drinking black tea is not something we do very much, but it's something that we drink all the time. Every morning you wake up, that's the first thing you drink. At 10 o'clock, we have what we call tea breaks. At 4 o'clock, there's another tea break. So in school or in the office, you'd always get tea. There's always tea. In the morning you wake up, there's a tea break at 10, a tea break at 4. And if you want to drink it in the evening, you can. Yes, so it's very, very much ingrained into our daily lives.
Okay.
Yes.
So going through like the culture and the history and the aspects of, Kenya tea, what do you think people should know more about tea? Like, what do you wish people know about it?
Well, I think one of the biggest things I found, especially now that I've been in this tea business for about 7 years, I'm still very amazed at how so many people don't know Kenya grows tea. And I think one of the disadvantages we've had is our teas have been grown and have been marketed as commodity products versus countries like China and India that have really learned how to target and market it as a specialty product. So as a commodity product, it's not given the same value or importance as other teas from different parts of the world. So what I feel has been the biggest challenge is people not knowing about Kenyan tea. And Kenyan tea is very good. One of the things that our biggest attributes is our teas are handpicked. They're single, we because of the way the teas are grown, they have a very unique flavor because of the mountain, the soil in the mountains, the rain, the right being on the equator. So that unique flavor profile that's very unique to Kenyan tea, you don't really find it, even though it's an Assamica species, it's still different from like the teas from India, that unique flavor profile. So I think that's the biggest thing I found is people not knowing the existence of Kenyan tea because a lot of the tea companies also do not do a good job in promoting the source.
Right.
You don't ever think about it. When you look at a tea box, you will never see where it was grown.
Right. You just see the brand name. You just see
the brand name or produced by, but not sourced from.
Right.
Or origin or source of origin. That's not something that people get to know. So that's one thing that I've really felt has been a disadvantage for us as a Kenyan tea and tea growers in Kenya is the fact that we don't have that platform,
right?
And also we don't have that representation.
So would you say that would be your biggest hardship that you have been dealing with your 7 years of business that you've been doing?
Yes, and also it doesn't help when the government also doesn't do too much about promoting it or being in advocates. So you find that it's small scale producers who are trying to put their names out there, but they can only do so much because it also costs money to be able to market.
Right.
It costs money to attend trade shows around the world. And it also probably doesn't help that, we are, as continents, we're not very close to one another. So you have to think about all the costs that go into there. But I think the biggest thing is the fact that we also don't have that government really pushing through for us to be able to be more well-known, more well-established. I mean, when you think about it, we're the third largest producer of tea in the world. We should have a name somewhere where people should commonly know that Kenya grows tea. And one of the things that, that's also been very interesting within the last 10 to 15 years is you have this new tea varietal called the purple leaf tea.
Right, yes.
That's something that's very unique to Kenya. In Africa, we're the only country that grows it. I know different parts of China do have it, but they don't have it in the kind of quantities that Kenya is doing. So that's a very unique varietal of the Camellia sinensis, the purple tea that's grown in Kenya. It's a tea that has more antioxidant content than your green tea and half the amount of caffeine. So in terms of just looking at it from just the uniqueness, it has a very unique profile. But most people don't know, they don't know much about, because they don't know about Kenyan tea, there are even fewer people who know about purple leaf tea. So that's always the question I get asked, even by tea retailers. They don't know about purple tea. What's purple tea? They always confuse it with the butterfly pea flower.
Yes,
and I'm always having to tell them.
I've heard that before.
No, purple leaf tea is actually a Camellia sinensis.
Yes. I've always heard people try, because I work also at a tea shop.
Yeah.
And we do sell purple leaf tea there. And
yes.
they're like, oh, so is this like butterfly pea tree? I'm like, no, it does not change the color of your tea whatsoever to purple.
Yes.
So going off of that, what or who has been the biggest influence of your tea journey or your tea business aspect too?
For sure, my family. My family has been, just because, like I said, being a fourth generation tea grower, I have been in it. I have been in the tea farms, working with the fellow workers, with my parents picking tea. That was something we did when we were growing up. During the holidays, we would go up to the countryside, to the farms. So being part of it, being the everyday, being able to pick that tea, understand the labor and the labor of love that it takes to grow tea, and be in a place where, you see the daily hardships. That has been something that was really very, very important to me, and a very core in being able to start this company and being a voice where people can know about Kenyan tea.
Right.
Yes. So my family is one, and my community. Yeah. Which is part of, we're all that whole community of tea growers.
So, since you're a part of the Denton Tea Festival, what can people expect from your presentation here at the Denton Tea Festival?
So I think the biggest thing, like I said, is being able to be a place where people can know, if I want Kenyan tea, I know I have a source around me, a local source in the DFW area,
right, that
they can get Kenyan tea, whether it's black tea, whether it's yellow tea, whether it's purple tea. We have it, and we carry also different blends. And then also creating a space where people can appreciate teas grown in Kenya. Being able to know, okay, I have alternatives. If I want to drink China tea,
right,
there's Indian tea, there's Kenyan tea, that I think the biggest thing is awareness. I feel that is one area that, 7 years into the business, I'm still feeling that awareness is not, we still have a long journey to go with regards to making Kenyan tea, making people more aware of Kenyan tea.
So what are you most excited for when it comes to the Denton Tea Festival then? Because you were talking about having that different aspects of, you could try Kenyan tea, you can also try a Chinese tea.
Yes. So I think for me, it's connections, networking with different people, being able to build communities. I was very intrigued to see what, UNT has, the Tea Society, being in a position where we can probably build connections and do more speaking engagements and just understand, just being able to bring value to the people who will be coming, whether it's the guests, other vendors, other speakers, just build onto that community where people can know, okay, we have a tea expert from Kenya here who can speak to us about Kenyan tea. And just sharing the story, just really sharing our story about the Kenyan tea growing process and just the Kenyan, what Kenyan tea means to us. Yeah, so that's really big. I just really want to build on those connections and build a network where people can get to know us more, get to know the tea more, and be able to get an opportunity to try it.
Right.
Yes.
Well, it was much appreciated talking to you today.
Yes.
If you want to state your business one more time for the people here, you are more than welcome to do that.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for creating this platform that allows us to talk about Kenyan tea. It's near and dear to me because it's something I've known all my life, and just being able to really share our Kenyan tea stories is something that I always take very, very, very importantly. Our website is www.leafberri.com. On Instagram, we're Leafberri. On Facebook, we are I Love Purple Tea. And on TikTok, we are Leafberri.premium teas. Yes.
Well, it was very nice talking to you today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you for having me. And I look forward to the Denton Tea Festival and building communities.
We look forward to having you, too.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.